All right, I want to welcome everybody to this month's Super Saturday Apple Core meeting. The second time now that we've been in the library, so it looks like this is going to work out good. Seems like a good location. I want to thank everybody for helping make this happen. The team that we had with Lawrence and Shirley. Before we start today's presentation, which is Ray Thompson on book publishing, I did want to, where did Shirley go?
She went to get coffee.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that after the presentation then. It's the thing about the name tags. She has done the name tags in the past. She brought them, but she had a question on where are the plastic containers with the clips? If anybody knows where those might be. Looks like they went missing from years ago till now. We may just have to buy some more, I don't know. So, okay. All right, so today's presentation, Ray Thompson, all the way from Sherman, Texas, is going to talk to us about book publishing and his awesome book that he's got out and he's made some revisions to. So Ray, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Blessed Easter to all of you. I told Richard some time ago that I would enjoy speaking to ACD about publishing a book of our family history. I've been publishing as best I knew how since the early days of the Mac, but this was my big project. I'm talking expense. And I'm delighted to share my story. I'm sure I didn't get it right, but maybe it will. Maybe it will show you some things that you might be up against. This is the book. Let's see. I can't get it through the thing.
You have to hide your background.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Well, I got a slide anyway. Some of you have already received the printed copies of the book. I'm not selling it. In fact, I'm giving it away as fast as I can. So when I'm finished, you'll be able to have your own PDF copy. Okay, let's see if I can start my slideshow. Okay, does everybody see that? No, let's see. I've got to go to share screen, don't I?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. To do that, I got to go back to Rank Central and down here, say, share screen, share.
Okay, we see it.
Okay, now let's see. Say play. Now, is that full screen?
Yes.
Okay. But first, I want to tell you a little bit of the story behind the book. And I hope it might inspire you to collect and publish stories about your own family. My mother loved the TV series Little House on the Prairie, but it was many years later before we realized why it meant so much to her. She wrote, "Our Little House on the Prairie, shades of TV's Michael Landon. That was one TV program I could relate to. His house may have been smaller and rougher, but our prairie was flatter, wider, hotter, and more desolate. There was nothing for a shadow." When Mother Zoreen Todd Thompson was 87 years old, she announced to us children that she decided to write a book about her life. She was living with her in her little apartment in Carlsbad, New Mexico, near my sister, Barbara Coleman, and her family. I was living in Dallas, visiting Mother and Barbara and her family whenever I could. Barbara and I didn't pay much attention to Mother's writing project until one day she said she was getting discouraged. We looked at her typed copy mother was an excellent typist on her modern electric Remington and realized she was trying to write down everything she remembered about growing up in East Texas. We said, Mother, just write the stories and later we will put them together. What story do you mean? She said. We said, Mother, write the stories that we have all heard, but you say we never get them right when we tell them. Write them down once and for all. Well, that seemed to get Mother going on a different track. At this time, I was in love with my brand new Macintosh computer, the very first one. I persuaded Mother to let me transfer her typed stories to the Mac. I had to retype them, of course, and then printed out a clean copy she could edit while she kept writing new stories. Well, this worked. It was slow going, but gradually her writing took shape. Barbara and I soon realized she was writing mostly about her family moving from deep green East Texas to a barren homestead in New Mexico territory. Stories we'd never heard. Thanksgiving 1988, while I was visiting in Carlsbad, Barbara told me, Mother's having a hard time remembering things. I'm afraid if we don't get her stories finalized soon, she may not get to enjoy what she's written. So without telling Mother what we were doing, we began arranging her stories into a book. Now, the new technical field of desktop publishing was a special feature of the Macintosh, as some of you know. I was eager to begin arranging and formatting Mother's material using the Mac's first word processor, MacWrite. Barbara began chasing down illustrations for the book. She found some amazing photos of the Todd family on their homestead and Grandmother Todd's old photo albums. She selected other drawings from a children's encyclopedia that Mother read to us as children. With Mother's coaching, I drew several small diagrams for her story on my Mac using the Mac Paint program, of course. Well, we rushed the first copy of Our Little House on the Prairie. Mother had already decided on the title. We rushed it into print and presented it to Mother at Christmas time, 1989. Mother's memory did begin to fade, as Barbara had predicted. But the minute we opened her book, her face would light up and she would begin retelling the stories. When I was in my late 60s, the internet arrived and I was hooked. I did some Googling about things Mother had written about and soon found others interested. Over several years, I corresponded by email with two women directly connected to a story Mother had recalled about a murder in the small town of Ricardo. Mother's dad, my granddad, was the justice of the peace, and he had been called to go and arrest the woman accused of the murder. One of my email contacts who lived in California was the niece of the man who was killed. The other was the granddaughter of the woman accused of the murder. She lived in Berlin, Germany. I had a whole new chapter for Mother's book, but sometimes life just gets in the way of your plans. After 35 years, I retired from Rockwell Collins in Richardson, lost my first wife to cancer, met my present wife, Dorothy Murphy, and we were married in 2014. Finally, 20 years after I published Mother's first story, I began working on it again, adding my research. In June of 2022, I circulated a final draft to my collaborators, and in November, the final copies were printed. These are the things I'm going to talk about as far as the publishing goes, and thanks for listening to my story. I fell in love with desktop publishing, it was called, early on with my first little Mac. I became the SIG leader for the first Mac Lisa SIG. And I think this little story I wrote for the Applegram explains how exciting it was. I won't read all of it, but on the second page, oh, by the way, there is my artwork done in Mac Paint, of course. And here's the second page. Let's see, I don't know if you can read this. Here's these tips we were handing out, hints and kinks, you know. Have you tried trace edges from the edit menu? You select something with the marquee, then trace edges as many times as you want. Have you tried the Option K while using the pencil? Get you the grabber. Try using the spray can with white paint. Try using the header footer window for Mac Write. Let's see. When you need to erase irregular large areas, use the lasso and the backspace key. Questions and problems. Why couldn't we have the Mac Paint show page horizontal when we want to build a turn page pic? Rotate gets old. In Mac Write, how can I select a window less than full page width? Anyway, you know, it just went on, and it was so exciting. Everybody wanted to talk at once, and it truly was one of the most exciting pages, one of the most exciting times in my adventure in the Apple Corps. One of the first books I published was Mother's Story. I printed out only 5 copies using Mac Write. I remember taking my pictures down to have screen prints made to paste into my pages for copying. That's the only way I knew to do it. Since then, I published a number of family books, some of which are listed in the new book. Publishing Mother's Story started me collecting stories and even publishing for others who didn't have the knowledge or the tools. I've never understood fonts. That's the next thing I want to talk about. But that's really where it all starts, beginning with the first little Mac's bitmapped fonts. Today, we have PostScript fonts, and I understand even less about them, but the Mac OS lets me use them with ease. And with the help of Adobe Creative, I have access to thousands of fonts. My favorite font is Palatino. Does anyone remember the next computer that Steve Jobs built? It used PostScript fonts on the screen. Wow. Okay, now I want to talk about the PDF format. PDF files are the magic bullet for digital communications today, especially publishing. I'm using ChatGPT these days to do research on the web. And here is some of the things I found about the PDF format that you probably already know. Universality. PDF files can be opened and viewed on almost any device or platform, including desktop computers, laptops, tablets, and smart things. Security. PDF files can be password protected and encrypted. Consistency. PDF files maintain their formatting and appearance regardless of the device or software used to open them. Interactivity. PDF files can contain interactive elements such as hyperlinks, bookmarks, and such. Accessibility. PDF files can be optimized for accessibility, making them more user-friendly for people with disabilities, such as visual impairments. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about word processors. We've got many of them today. Thank goodness they all understand and can export to a PDF file, including your illustrations and all that font information. There was a time when you had to furnish your fonts with the print job. I used Apple Pages for my book because I was familiar with it. I've never used Microsoft Word, although it works great on the Mac and certainly is an industry standard. This project taught me a lot more about Pages that I didn't know. Okay, now a little bit about spelling and grammar checking. One of the best of these is free, and I urge you to try it, even for your everyday emails. It's called Grammarly. In my notes here, I just typed one of the best of these is completely free. And Grammarly said, redundant. It really does help. And I just leave it turned on all the time now. Okay, let's talk a little bit about obtaining a copyright and a ISBN number, or Library of Congress number. Theoretically, any original writing is automatically copyrighted. However, if you want or need a firm legal basis for defending your copyright, you can apply for one through the United States Copyright Office, about $75. You submit your work online as a PDF. The review and approval process may take up to a year, and all you can do is wait. So start early. I ran into a complication right away because I was publishing the work of my deceased mother under my name. Of course, I had added my own research to Mother's story, and I was soon told that most of it was not copyrightable. After several reviews, the copyright reviewers came up with a copyright category to fit my book. It is copyrighted as a joint work. Notice at the very top line, copyrighted 22 Ray Thompson, all rights reserved, joint work. Author Zoreen Thompson, co-author Ray Thompson. And that took 9 months, so I was glad and I had started it. You can also obtain an ISBN number to have your work listed in the Library of Congress, which I did. You receive a barcode image to paste on your copyright page, as you see there at the bottom. Covers for your book. There are many ways to design a cover, including designing it yourself. Here's a cover I designed in Photoshop for a booklet I published about our family cantaloupe business in Pecos, Texas. Growing and shipping cantaloupes was our business. My grandfather is recognized as the founder of the Pecos cantaloupe industry in the early 1900s, and I grew up on our cantaloupe farm from age 8. For Mother's book cover, I looked for an artist online. There are many of them specializing in creating covers, especially to market a book. I was not interested in the marketing angle, but had an idea in my head I wanted to turn into a cover. I had a very interesting online experience that I think is worth telling. I found a website named Upworks. A lot of artists hang out there. They post a profile of their talent and the rate for their work. It was really confusing to pick someone. I didn't really know how to go about it, but I finally picked a guy. I gave him a description of what I wanted and sent him a PDF of my book and asked him to read certain paragraphs. He seemed genuinely interested in my project. His rate was $100 an hour, and we agreed on a budget of $800. Pretty low, but he agreed and to take the job, and I was a little surprised. Things went pretty slow at first. He had several jobs in the works besides mine, I could tell, but he soon sent me some ideas, some I liked and some I vetoed. Then he made several excellent suggestions, which were a big help to me in deciding what I really wanted. With a lot more back and forth, we nailed down the front cover on the left. These guys get paid weekly, and we had just about reached $800. Then we began to work on the back cover, some parts of which I furnished the text blocks. I asked him for an estimate to finish the back cover and the spine, and we agreed on $400 more. It was over budget, but he had done great work, and I was really happy. His final work included meeting the requirements of the publisher for the final art, delivered as a Photoshop PDF file. He gets those specs from the publishing site and takes care of that. It was really an enjoyable experience, and I made a new online friend, Shane LeBrun. I credited his work on my copyright page. By the way, there is an Easter egg on the back cover. Poor Raymond. The clue is on page 68, but so far no one has mentioned finding it. Online printing and publishing. There's so many offerings that it's hard to choose. Most publishers have a page like this where you enter the details of what you want, and you get an immediate fixed price quote, even including the shipping costs for your printed books. Going to different publishers, you can try different print options and see how they affect the total cost. Most publishers accept your PDF file, including illustrations, and they take care of everything else. Formatting, paper selection, binding. In other words, you decide what you want, and their software takes care of it. Their software can detect bad elements in the file that you submit, especially low resolution images or bad format, but not spelling or grammar. So you must take care of yourself. Incidentally, I did have a reviewer read my draft. It cost $200, but it was very helpful. She pointed out how difficult it was to understand who I was talking about in the book. And that helped me to rewrite the very first pages of the book. Anyway, the printer gives you a downloadable PDF proof copy of your finished document before you're charged and before printing. So you can really look at the finished thing page by page. Then for a fee, they will furnish you with a printed proof. For $200, I received a single hard copy of my book, exactly how it would be delivered. Being a first-time publisher and a nervous Nelly, I paid the $200, and it was worth it, just for my sense of security about how much money I was about to spend when they pushed the button. I went with Mixum, based in Illinois. However, when they answered the phone, they all sounded like they were working in the center of London. And maybe they were, They sure sounded British. I got a little frustrated with their online messages. It just didn't work. Phone calls were fine, but it sometimes took a couple of days to get an answer to my voicemail. I finally realized that each Mixum text was probably covering hundreds of print jobs. The printed proof contained Mother's story and an appendix about how the book evolved over 30 years, a total of 110 pages. I was really pleased with the proof, and suddenly these thoughts came to me. Ray, you're getting old. You are the publisher, and you could add anything you want to Mother's story. What about all that family history you've been intending to publish someday? Maybe you better get it done. So I had changed the title to add a family history and added pages to double the size of the book. I ordered 250 copies of a 228-page hardcover 8.5 by 11-inch book with 100-pound paper. I found a strong mailer because I intended to mail most of these printed books, and I created a large label to go on to the mailer. I plan to distribute at least 200 copies to my family, old friends, and over 30 new friends I picked up doing research on the book. The printed books came by FedEx ground in 25 boxes, which I carefully stored in my garage on a pallet. Okay, Ray, how much did it cost? Those of you who have seen and handled a hard copy of Mother's books may be wondering. It's a heavy book, and the 100-pound pages, I think, give it a great feel. Well, it was expensive. I could claim $27 per copy just for the printing, but the real total cost came to $8,664, about $45 a copy. Wow. Well, certainly printing in large quantities and with a lighter paperweight would have lowered the cost considerably, but I was self-publishing. It was my big project, and I am very pleased with the book. Okay, about giving Mother's book away. In my research relating to it, I've found that it has some significant historical interest. First of all, it's the only account of any of my researchers know about the tiny railroad town of Ricardo, which has long since vanished from today's maps, except for the cemetery. The part played by the Ashton, Topeka, and Santa Fe Belen Cutoff Railroad is of great interest to railroad bucks. And then finally, the documentation I collected about the murder in Ricardo in Chapter 5 is an intriguing part of early New Mexico history. It has a lot to do with New Mexico struggling to gain statehood. I plan to give copies of Mother Book to all the schools and libraries in our hometown and to numerous museums and universities that have historical archives, especially in New Mexico. I know that Mother would relish sharing her beloved story with everyone, and that's exactly my plan. Along the way, I've met some amazing researchers, writers, and bloggers who have devoted their lives to recording and preserving stories like Mother's. I've reached them all over the world, the US, Canada, Germany, Australia, and New Zealand. One of them is an amazing writer and publisher, John Muhlhaus. who has an amazing blog named Cities of Dust, where he collects and publishes stories with this motto: the lost and wondrous wreckage of America, the ceaseless road to nowhere. Yay, that's my home. Well, John has graciously agreed to post a PDF copy of Mother's book on his server, a permanent home that will survive long after my Dropbox download link has expired. So please find the download link here, and I suppose I could copy that and share it with you by text. I'll try that in a minute. Unfortunately, some of the very best research information about Mother's book relating to the murder story in chapter 5 didn't arrive until after the book was published. After several years of correspondence with my friend in Berlin, Jacqueline Carley, she finally revealed her family's side of the tragedy. And it is a tragedy. It is a tragedy that has followed her family down through the years, even into her generation. And one morning, both of us suddenly realized that her mother and my dad must have known each other in the little one-room schoolhouse in Ricardo. We'd been corresponding for over 5 years, and that never had come to our minds. Anyway, I published a 23-page addendum with this late information that you don't want to miss, and you can download it from the same link. So thanks to all of you for listening to my story. And I will try to, right now, I'll try to copy that link and put it in the chat. Thank you very much. Now, Ray, how do you get back to, let's see, let me get man tab, no, escape.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Always amazing to me how these things can just have a life of their own and just put tentacles out everywhere and get your attention and your money. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
I have one.
I'm trying to get my screen off.
You have to go down to the bottom and hit stop screen share
Stop.
at the bottom.
Yeah, I got it. Now it says share. Your screen. Oh, stop share. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. All right.
Ray, how many versions of our software have you been running with? Like, for example, it sounds like you've been running this for quite a while. What version of macOS or version of Pages would you say you started at?
Well, I'm not sure, but you know, it has been upgraded several times. I'm sure 2 or 3 times since I started, but that never created any problems. You know, I just installed the new version and opened it. And, you know, there's a guy on online called MacMost. That's a real Apple guru. And he is really a Pages expert. And I've learned an awful lot from watching his videos. But I've had no trouble with Pages. And, you know, the more you use something, the more you enjoy using it. So.
We've had MacMost present to our group before. I think it's on our recorded page on our website. Pretty sure. Larry?
Have you ever considered using the overseas sourcing for, say, your cover type artwork I know it wouldn't be good for text and writing, but there's ever imaginable type of service overseas, and the prices are like $9, $10 an hour instead of $50 to $100 an hour.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the speaker. Somebody relay for me.
He was saying, have you looked into overseas options for artwork? Their prices are dramatically lower than what you would.
I was suspicious that Mixum was really overseas, but the printing was done in Illinois, so I don't know. There were so many choices. Same way with looking for an artist, you know, you just kind of flounder around. But I think I was lucky in both counts.
Yeah, I think as long as you're happy with the results.
Yeah, that's the thing. This was a big thing that I'd worked on for many years, and it solved a lot of problems of what things I wanted to do and the way I wanted to do them. So you could certainly print, of course, for a much lower cost and still a real nice looking book. Without hard covers, with lighter paper, you know, but I went all out, and I'm glad I did.
Well, Ray, as young as you are you going to start another book?
I've already,
You already done that?
well, I've got a ton of stuff that I've never really published. And by the way, how much time do we have? How long did that take? I don't even know.
We've got plenty of time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me mention, let me go back here to share screen and very quickly tell you about something I'm kind of excited about.
More clouds and sunshine. No rain today, no rain tomorrow. Rain chances return on Monday. Wednesday across the western North.
1 second.
And then Monday night is kind of a disturbance. It's going to drop down into the air. Perhaps rain showers and storms across the western.
I've been working on another long deal to redo my webpage, and I'm doing that in, where is it? I'm doing that in Rapid Weaver. Come on, come on, come on. I don't know how many of you have used Rapid Weaver, but this is my new web page. And what I ran across was that Rapid Weaver understands, for text, understands a language called markup. How many are familiar with markup? Anybody?
Like extensive.
Well, it is a way to format plain text so that you get the desired output as far as headings, paragraphs, bold text and all that. And in looking for a markup editor, there's several very inexpensive ones, but I ran across a new application, pretty new on the Mac, called Ulysses. And Ulysses is a markup editor. And so I began putting things in here that I'm working on. And here's one of the stories, and this is the editor window. But now, when I get ready to, this is the intriguing part to me. When I get ready to publish, I go up here. This is the edit view. You notice here, let's see, let me go back to, notice here there is there's 2 spaces before that, 2 asterisk before that and 2 asterisk after that. That means it's formatted to be bold type. And all of those things are right here. Here is, let's see, strong emphasis, mark, delete, dash line, link, image, all of these things that you can mark in this text. Now, when I get ready to export, that dumb thing is in my way. Look at all of the formats. First of all, I can go out to WordPress, Medium, Ghost, and Microblog. I don't use any of these, but they're all, once you get the markup done, these are all available. Also, let's see. Okay, got to go back to here now. Now, up here, I can go out with just plain text. I can go out to HTML. I can go out to EPUB. I can go out to PDF, which is what I'm usually mostly, but I can also go out to Word. And on my circle of email friends that I send stuff to, there's 3 of them that can never open a PDF file, but they can open a docx. Then under text, just text, look here. I can go plain text, rich text, RTF, markdown, text bundle, or text black. So if you use this editor, you can go to just nearly any output you want. And you can put illustrations in the text. And I've just really found it useless. So I'm kind of beginning to move my writing over to Ulysses, just using it as an editor with the idea that I've got many more options to publish than I've had before. So that's my little story about markup. Thank you. Okay, let me get back and get the share screen. Stop. Okay, thank you.
So it sounds like you do have a few more things in the works.
Yes.
Coming up.
Yeah, you know, I'm just kind of playing around with it, but I have a group. We share our personal writings and things, and I think one of the things I've turned them on to is Grammarly, and boy, it's a big help, and it's really easy to use. I just leave it on all the time.
I use it because I write so bad and it really helps me out, but I pay for it, matter of fact. It's like,
Yeah, I've got the paid version too.
but I pay for it because it's great.
Yeah, there are a couple of others also, but Grammarly's free, and I got started with it, and so.
Ray, you told us you were going to put the link in the chat box.
Oh yeah, let me see how I can do that. I think I can, because I sure would like for you to all. Let's see. Here we go. No.
Grammarly cost. I thought Grammarly cost.
It does. If you get the free version.
It's a good one. Is the,
And then I pay for the cost, and it's $128 and $38 a year. It's pretty expensive, but my wife does a lot. I do writing, it helps me out a bit, but my wife does a lot of work that she does for work.
so that helps.
Oh, yeah. So she's the one that said, yeah, we need to pay for that.
Well, good. If it works well.
Even though it's all innocent and mood and intent don't translate very well in text messages.
You got the chat place to type it in?
Just about to get there, I think.
Okay, good, good.
Let's see, chat.
Lucky enough.
Send to everyone.
Send to everyone, yes. There it is. Okay.
And you can download the book and the addendum at that same place.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Richard, we ready to wind her down? Any announcements or whatever?
So, anybody else have any last questions for our presenter? Really appreciate that, Ray. It was great.
that was
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed doing it. Really been fun.
I did want to talk a little bit now that Shirley's back about the name tags. So we would like to get the name tags going again. She plans to print those out, right? Before every meeting or?
When Taylor sends them to me, then
Back get better?
Yeah. Okay.
or there were 3 every month. These are from last month.